Good day, Bermuda, and thank you for joining this morning's press conference with the Minister of Labor, the Honorable Jason Hayward, JP MP. I now welcome Minister Hayward to begin. Minister?
Good day to all members of the media and the listening public. Today, I would like to address a number of concerns reported to the Ministry of Labor from employees and members of the public about mandatory vaccinations within the workplace and the perceived treatment of union employees as it pertains to layoffs. Employees and their representatives from various industries have voiced concern that many employers are laying off Bermudian employees at a rate disproportionate to that of work permit holders. The ministry understands that due to the current economic climate in Bermuda, businesses find it challenging to remain open. However, the government has made its position clear on work permits in that they should only be used when Bermudian labor is not available. It is understood that some employers do not have a layoff policy or schedule in place and are not fair and equitable in their decision-making. And so I strongly advise employers to implement a layoff policy or schedule that is equally applied to all employees to avoid further complaints. Employers are also reminded to adhere to the layoff provisions as noted in Section 32 of the Employment Act 2000, and they should contact the Labor Relations Section for guidance to comply with Bermuda Labor Code. The COVID-19 Bermuda Labor Code. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused many employers to review their business operations, including how best to protect their staff and clients from contracting the virus. Unfortunately, some employers have practiced laying off, suspending, and even in some cases, terminating employees who are not vaccinated. Employers and employees must recognize and understand that vaccination is a personal choice, and employees who choose not to be vaccinated must not be treated with discipline or termination of employment. To be clear, this government has not made any statement or implemented legislation mandating vaccinations in the workplace. Therefore, employers should utilize the methods and guidelines currently available through the Ministry of Health to maintain public safety as best as they can. Employers are reminded that they have an obligation under the Occupational Safe and Healthy Act 1982 and its relevant regulations to ensure, so far as reasonably practicable, the health, safety, and welfare at work of all their employees. If employees and employers have questions concerning employment-related layoffs or vaccination policies, they should contact the Labor Relations Section. Employers should also contact the Ministry of Health with any COVID-19 concerns or advice. The Labor Relations Section is available via phone and email from Monday to Friday between 8:45 and 5 p.m. and on 297-7716 or at sstevens@gov.bm. Additionally, employment violations may be reported through the Bermuda Job Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. At this time, we will admit Sean Connolly from the Royal Gazette to ask his questions. Connolly from the Royal Gazette to ask his questions. Good morning, Sean.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
All right.
You may begin asking your questions.
Okay, so basically you're saying that you're not going to do anything about mandatory requirements. That's the point of your statement, is it?
The point of my statement is to protect Bermudians in the workplace. And so number one, Bermudians should not be laid off at a disproportionate rate to work permit holders. And number two, the government has not taken a stance as it pertains to mandatory vaccinations in the workplace. And as a result, persons should not be penalized for not being vaccinated.
Minister, do you have evidence of people being penalized for that at the moment in the workplace?
Certainly, the Labor Relations Section has received complaints from employees, and that is the catalyst to me making this statement today.
And how many complaints have they received then?
I don't have the complete statistics, but certainly is one too many.
Do you have a rough idea?
No, I don't have the statistics as just stated.
Okay,
But
but you're not.
one complaint or one letter written from a union which represents employees is enough for me to make a statement on this particular matter.
Okay, but this doesn't change anything, does it? You're just restating your previous stance.
I'm unclear on your question.
But you're restating what's already government policy, aren't you?
And certainly I'm reiterating government's position on this particular matter and making it abundantly clear, because it seems as though the practices that are in place are not in alignment with the position of the government.
Okay, and can you say how many companies are involved in this situation who are you know, putting pressure on workers to get vaccinated?
We would only know based off of complaints, and so if we do have a number of complaints, we have to make the reasonable assumption that there are many other companies out there who are not practicing equitable practices as it pertains to layoffs or threatening employees with vaccination.
Okay, but you admit that you don't know how many complaints there are?
Correct.
All right. Do you not think that you probably should if you're about to make a statement?
No, I don't think the number of complaints is relevant. I think once you heard that this is occurring within society, it is government's responsibility to make a statement. And so the statement, whether is one person who is being negatively impacted or 100 persons being negatively impacted, the statement is still relevant.
With Parliament's returning tomorrow, the House is back. Will we get a statement on COVID restrictions tomorrow?
It is my understanding that the Minister of Health will provide an update on COVID restrictions.
And are we likely to see a relaxation of things like safe key?
I would certainly ask you to await the statement made by the Minister of Health tomorrow.
And
Okay.
Mr. Connolly, if I can
Thank
just
you.
remind you to please try to keep the questions relevant to this press conference.
Well, I think COVID restrictions are pretty relevant to a statement about COVID vaccinations, but there you go. Right, well, thank you for that, Minister. That's all from me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Minister, now bringing in Jasmine Patterson from BBC.
Hi, good morning, Minister. Thanks for your statement. Are you able to share what sectors in particular may be affected by this issue?
Certainly as it pertains to layoffs, the hospitality sector, and so hotel and restaurants would be a big sector as it pertains to layoffs, but we see it across the entire economy where there are contractions in the workforce. And so with really and truly, with the exception of IB, we've seen contractions across the board in terms of employment levels. And so these matters as it pertains to layoffs are impacting multiple industries, but as it pertains to vaccinations, they're also spread across industries as well.
So more people are being affected in the hotel and restaurants industry. Is that what you said?
Certainly, because the work in that particular industry is more seasonal. And as we are in the winter season, which is the rougher season for those particular establishments, they have to make tough decisions as it pertains to staffing. But in terms of the vaccination policy, we've seen that transcend the hotel and restaurant industry, and we've heard complaints from other areas as well.
Since the government hasn't taken a stance on mandating vaccinations in the workplace, would you consider creating guidelines for companies to follow, such as offering increased testing for those who aren't vaccinated, or some other sort of document that they can be guided by?
So I would say the government has taken a stance, and the government stance is that vaccination is a personal choice. Every industrial group has guidelines that they can follow through the Ministry of Health. And so The guidelines in place, we're asking persons to adhere to the guidelines. We're asking persons who do have genuine health and safety concerns in terms of their staff and customers to look at other ways to mitigate the spread of the virus other than discipline or terminating unvaccinated individuals.
Do these complainants have any legal basis? Do you know of any that will consider legal action against your employer?
Certainly, we're asking the employees who are being negatively impacted to contact the labor relations section so that they can get proper advice. Every situation is different. And so I don't want to make a blanket statement as to whether or not there are protections for individuals. It's based off of their individual cases.
You also mentioned that the layoffs are disproportionately affecting those who aren't on a work permit. Can you expand on that more?
And so where you have a workplace where you have a Bermudian and a non-Bermudian worker, a work permit holder and a Bermudian employee, what we're finding is that employers are retaining the work permit holders and laying off the Bermudians. That is causing Bermudians to complain about things not being fair. And as a result of receiving those complaints, we've identified that a number of workplaces do not even have layoff policies in place that are equitable. And what we're trying to do is protect Bermudians in the workplace. And so it is not fair that Bermudians continue to get laid off in the workplace while their non-Bermudian counterpart remains at work.
And so the non-Bermudian is more likely to be vaccinated? Is that what you're
No,
hearing?
as it pertains to layoffs, sometimes the layoffs are economic choice and not a health choice. And so persons are being laid off based off of the staffing needs of the establishment. And that has nothing to do with the vaccination policy.
I think that covers everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Desmond. Minister, any closing remarks?
Certainly, as we continue to try to provide a level of economic growth and development in the country, we're asking employers to ensure that they look out for the best interests of the Bermudian employees. Certainly, we can't have large-scale contraction in our labor force and expect ourselves to grow out of this pandemic. And so the Bermuda government position on these particular matters is that we should ensure that whatever policies are put in place are fair and are equitable, and where persons do have concern, they reach out to the relevant governing agency for support. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, the members of the public and the media, for joining us. That is the end of the press conference. Have a great day.